Spy Chameleon RGB Agent is a challenging arcade puzzle game where the player needs to avoid being spotted thanks to the color-changing mechanisms of the main character. Welcome to episode 69 of the 5 T's of Stealth, where we will be discussing Spy Chameleon RGB Agent. Once again, the 5 T's include tasks, terrain, tools, threats, and tension. These are what I consider to be the fundamentals of stealth gaming. First things first, I played on hard mode. In this game, there are 5 total missions, each consisting of 15 levels. The missions are really just non-existent and basically just flavor text. There aren't separate objectives for each mission. There is simply a few lines of dialogue when you complete the final level of each mission. Your actual goal in each level is just to find the exit. Along with that, there are 3 optional objectives for each level. Collect all the flies, finish the level in a certain amount of time, and lastly, collect all the ladybugs. The ladybugs will not appear on a level until after you have completed it a single time. Now, I say that these are all optional, but that's not quite right. To unlock all levels for a specific mission, you will have to collect all the flies on a certain amount of levels. So it's not always optional, but once you hit your quota, it doesn't matter. The flies are very simple to collect and in fact, usually will hint at the best path to take in each level. With 5 different missions, the game offers something new with each one, which typically comes in the form of a new mechanic. I don't exactly remember which mechanics were introduced at what time, but it is important to acknowledge that the game is always changing and keeping things fresh. However, there isn't really a lot of room for player creativity, as these levels are very linear with pretty much one correct path. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. Let's list off some of those mechanics, shall we? Rugs of different colors are the first environmental element that you will come across. As a chameleon, naturally, you will be able to blend into these rugs and avoid detection. This is a common theme with other color mechanics including spilled buckets of paint and floor panels that change colors. Keeping things basic, there are locked doors that require you to find a key, cabinets to push around, and switches or buttons that activate walls that block line of sight. There are also consoles you can interact with to open doors or activate these walls. Introduced in, I believe, the final mission, cardboard boxes will appear on some levels. Cardboard boxes prevent your enemies from spotting you if you are standing still, but if you move, then the box will not protect you. Lastly, the most unique mechanic, the Sonic Disruptor. This device seems to only affect rat enemies, but the activation causes them to enlarge and stand still. When timed correctly, this will open up paths that were previously blocked by wandering enemies. I completely forgot to mention that some levels will have checkpoints that you can walk across to activate. These are simply circles on the ground. You can actually keep walking over them as much as you need. As a chameleon, you do not have a lot of options, but that's okay since your main gimmick is strong. As a chameleon, you can change between 4 colors: red, green, blue, and yellow. When you change colors, you will also perform a little hop, and that's all I have to say. There are several different enemies present in this game, but realistically, several of them function the same. Every enemy has a vision cone, and if you enter it, even just the tiniest bit of the corner, you will be spotted, and getting spotted means game over. The first enemies you come across are robots. Some move around while some are stationary. Some only look in one direction while others pan across an area. As mentioned earlier, rats are also present, but they feel pretty damn similar to the robots. The main difference that I can think of is that rats are affected by the Sonic Disruptor while I don't believe the robots are. Fish are also present in this title and are honestly quite the unique enemy. All fish are in a fish bowl and staring in one direction. What you need to do is annoy the fish, which means bump into them, which will change their line of sight, allowing you to sneak past. In the last mission, flies are introduced as enemies. No, not the flies you've been eating the whole game, but bigger flies with a vision cone. Although you can actually still eat them, so maybe not so different. Lastly, we need to talk about cameras. These might just be the most dangerous cameras I have come across in a stealth game, which is such a hilarious statement to make. In this game, cameras do not detect you right away. Well, that's not quite right, because they seem to be able to always detect you, but it takes some time for them to fully lock on. When you are out in the open, a camera will look at you and a circle will appear at your feet. The longer you are vulnerable, the more the circle will shrink until eventually you are detected. The long detection time gives you some leeway, but the fact that cameras can always see you is horrifying. Spy Chameleon is a pretty difficult game. The first word that comes to mind is precision. This game requires very precise movements for staying out of vision cones and avoiding detection. Most of these vision cones move very quickly and require you to move at just the right moment or you're screwed. This game reminds me of Master Spy a bit in that sense, considering that it requires a lot of trial and error. However, it is not nearly as difficult. If you are like me, then most of the time you will pretty quickly understand the pathing you need to complete each level, but getting it down just right can take a little bit of time. There is no room for error, and any slight oversight will get you caught every time. I quite enjoy the difficulty present in this game, but I know it's not for everyone. I mentioned it already, but these are probably the scariest cameras I have encountered so far in my stealth grind. I did have one instance where a checkpoint was actually located within a vision cone, so I just kept losing over and over and over, which forced me to restart the level. Not the end of the world, but I felt like it needed to be mentioned. I did also notice that for some reason, anytime I launched the game, it switched the difficulty back to normal mode, so I had to remember to switch it back to hard. I missed it once at the end of the game and ended up completing the last 17 missions of the game on normal. Once I realized this error, I went back and redid the levels on hard. I'd like to think this gave me a little bit of perspective on the differences between normal and hard. However, from what I could tell, the main difference is just the intensity of the enemies, or in other words, the vision cones seem to move slower in normal mode. I really don't have a ton to say about this game because it's a short and simple game. There's really not a lot going on. There are enemies with vision cones and you gotta switch colors to stay invisible. Spy Chameleon RGB Agent is actually a pretty damn hard title that requires you to become a master of precision while avoiding enemies of all shapes and sizes. While I enjoyed my time with it and would recommend it, it's definitely not the game that will completely blow you away or become one of your all-time favorites. It's a short experience that stays fresh and stays enjoyable, while remaining true to its core of colorful evasion.